Well, yes, we did make a bit of a comeback last week after something of a hiatus, and you'd have to say online there was some scepticism that we'd come back for a second week in a row, but we have managed to do it. This is, of course, the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour podcast. I'm Sergio Paradise, which must mean that this bloke over here is Titus O'Reilly.
Two in a row.
2 in a row, 2 in 2 weeks.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It's almost like a career.
No, the people were sceptical.
They were indeed.
And once they heard it, they were like, why did we miss this?
Even more sceptical. Although I do have to say,
I wanted this to come back.
Remember my really late joke about the
narrow it down.
The shooting gallery at the Royal Melbourne Show.
Oh, yeah.
When I sort of suggested that instead of, firing your rifle at those little, cutouts that you have to knock over, that as just as a sign of the times, you got to fire your rifle at genuine thoroughbred racehorses.
Oh, yeah.
And it was poorly worded then, just as it was now. But I have to say, here's a shout out to Sheps Mags, who took umbrage to the fact that I thought it was a bad joke. He said, I laughed out loud in the gym. So Sheps Mags, easily amused.
Well, always the bellwether of whether it's a good joke.
You laugh at the gym.
And we should say we're planning to get a few more in before Christmas.
We are.
And then we might go away January.
Well, exactly.
Maybe together, maybe not.
2 or 3 in a row. I mean, you
need a break.
And then we'll need another break.
Well, we go somewhere where I'm wondering if you know anywhere with a good beach bar.
Surely this time of year, they shouldn't be too hard to find.
No, we'll be fine.
Now, another good performance by you on the front bar last week, plugging the book.
I did plug the book briefly.
Yeah,
the new one, but it was fun. It was the last one.
Yeah, so, they're coming back for a couple more, aren't they? After Christmas in January, I think. Cricketing ones.
I'm not sure.
Don't know.
There wasn't any talk of that yet, but that I'm aware of. I think it's basically that's it till the footy.
Yeah. So your new book, excellent Christmas gift.
It's called Please Gamble Irresponsibly. It's the ultimate Christmas gift.
I started it the other night and I fell asleep 2 pages in.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. But that's not a review. That's just what happened the other night. You can put that on the cover of the next edition if you like. I fell asleep 2 pages
you think
in.
It could be an insomnia curing.
No, it's going to be a good read.
It was good the last front bar of the year, and we had some drinks on Friday night to celebrate the end of the year. So that was fun. Of course, naturally, they started early.
Yeah.
You can always tell that's the fun. So I had to go a bit early from it, though, because I had to go to...
I was about to say, didn't you go? You went to the test.
I went to the test, so I actually...
Nice.
And I got to say, wasn't it a real honour to see David Warner bring up his 300? Couldn't that, happen to a nicer bloke? I'm enjoying the kind of reaction that...
That's the interesting thing, I reckon, is how people go... The general groundswell seems to be, it's a great innings, but he's still a shit bloke.
Well, I think it's partly that. I think also, there's no doubt. One, he got dropped off and, no ball and stuff like that. But there is absolutely no doubt that, I'm not saying this lessens it necessarily. It's very easy for me. I couldn't do it, so I'm not saying it's... But that bowling attack from Pakistan... was woeful. It's not like, you're doing it, you're grinding one of the top teams into the dust.
Exactly.
It was...
I was watching late in that innings, the Australian innings, because of course they only need one.
Yeah.
And they fed the Pakistan players. They looked like they just did not want to be. They could not be bothered. They'd given up already.
Oh, they didn't want to be there.
Couldn't wait to get on the plane.
No one wanted to be there.
I mean, how bad are you going if you'd rather be in Pakistan than Queensland? or even South Australia.
This was it was interesting mood at the ground. It was sort of amazing to see a triple century because you're not always going to see that. But it was, there's not a lot of love for Warner. At best, you would say he's respected as a batsman by some. And, that's always been the thing with Warner. No one's really doubted that he's not a great batsman. Yeah. He's a great batsman. He's amazing. His figures alone speak for itself, But some of the debates around it were funny too, this idea that he should have... People were saying, should he have declared or retired at
334?
To honour and respect the Don. And I'm like... This is what's wrong with our country?
Yeah.
That, we're telling junior kids that they can't score in cricket or football. We're telling professional batsmen they shouldn't go past certain records.
And by all reports, Bradman was a worse bloke than Warner.
Did you see Ian Chappell was on that Julie Zamiro show about going to hometowns? Did you see that?
I did.
And he was just still whacking Bradman.
Still belt. I mean, I love it when you kick a bloke when he's dead.
He's never stopped. It's a lot easier when they're dead.
And with Ian Chappell, when he goes, he opens the sentence with, of course I respected him as a cricketer.
Yeah, as a cricketer.
But not as a man.
So it was kind of funny. So a lot of people...
What was the feeling like at the ground with Warner? Did you get much of a feeling from the crowd?
Yeah, I mean... Look, there was applause and people were kind of impressed, and it is, so there wasn't... it's just, I talked to a lot of people, like both ex-cricketers and just members of the crowd that were there. I was there for about 2-3 days as I was wandering around and stuff. And people would all say amazing, but then they would all without fail bring up the fact that they don't think he's a good bloke, and two, the Pakistani attack was horrendous, which was, all true. And then there was talk about whether should have Tim Payne declared. I mean, of course he should have declared. I mean, when we were over there at the time, there was a lot of talk amongst even the ground staff and that the rain was coming on Sunday and possibly Monday too. So there was a chance. Originally, they thought about the time Payne declared, they thought that whole Sunday would be rained out. Yeah. So and it now happened that I think the first 5-6 hours they got in play before the rain did stop it, but they got in a lot more. But that was the original thinking, Like, imagine if he hadn't declared and they'd lost, then everyone would have said he was the worst captain in history.
Or if they just kept batting and then it got rained out for 3 days, the whole thing, nothing. Yeah. But now they've got the first test against New Zealand, in about a week's time. Yeah. Now New Zealand have been on fire lately, so this should actually be a pretty good series.
Yeah, this is going to be way more
because
fun.
A year ago you think, New Zealand, is that going to be much chop? But actually, it's going to be now, I think.
Yeah, no, it'll be good.
I'm looking forward to this one.
So it was fun. Adelaide's just such a great stadium to just hang out in, no matter what's going on. But
it's just a shame that it's in Adelaide.
The Pakistanis were just terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just too young and no good, and but it was fun. I mean, going to any test is fun.
Oh, of course it is.
So it was a great day. But Warner's Warner. Yeah. It was fun watching Steve Smith almost sulk the whole way through because he didn't get to bat enough.
Well, the other thing about Warner is that it seems to me most adults, for some reason, don't like Warner on whatever level. Yeah. But kids love him. Kids still love him. And he seems to have
he's on their wavelength.
He has a pretty good rapport with the kids, I reckon.
The other funny thing I noticed, I put a tweet out about this, a photo at the Adelaide Oval. Yeah. And apparently this is widespread. They use a lot of recycled water over in South Australia. It's the driest state. Yeah. On the driest continent, as several people told me. And they had it on in all the toilets at the stadium, it says... recycled water used for flushing. Yeah. So not in the taps to wash your hands, for flushing. Yeah. Please do not drink.
It's a strange place, Adelaide.
I was like, what happened that someone had to... Why? Whenever you see a warning, you go, that's a very specific warning.
Yeah, and it's generally because somebody has done it before.
Something really stupid. And I did think that. I was pissing myself. I was like, God, who's drinking the toilet flushing water?
Well, see, Adelaide water's bad enough at it, on a good day. Well, that's even their drinking water's bad.
A few people pointed it out, and then I said, who's drinking this stuff? And, who would do this? Yeah. And then a few people wrote, have you tried West End? It probably tastes better.
West End bitter or whatever it is.
I don't think I've ever drank West End.
I've had one pot of it. And
is it as bad as it?
I don't reckon I've finished the pot. This is disgusting.
Well, that's saying something for you.
It's like Resch's in Sydney. It's just undrinkable.
Right. I've never had it. So anyway,
and Tooheys Old, I can't come at that either.
I've had Tooheys Old. That's terrible. Yeah. Tooheys New's not much better either.
Yeah, it's a bit better, but no, you can't beat a VB.
Now, the draft was on last week.
I was too. We took the lead up to it last Wednesday.
How much did you watch of it?
All of it.
You watched all of it?
I watched all of
it. Day two?
Yeah, day two. The main reason I did watch it is that my son knows a few of the players who did get drafted from his school.
Oh, right. So you actually had some interest in
it. And Cody Waitman, who went to the Bulldogs, I sort of know his parents.
Yeah.
So
that's the only reason I could see anyone watching around at least day two. Like the first 10 is interesting, or the first 12 that they do on the first night is interesting enough, I guess, from an extent. But it's still kind of funny because you go, oh, I think that guy's going to be good.
Yeah. And then they, as we said last week, they show his highlights and you think, oh, Brownlow medalists. Yeah. All of them. Yeah. Whereas, a lot of them won't even play or get a game.
Well, I remember I watched a bit of the second night.
Yeah.
And about 10 minutes in, I just literally thought, what am I doing with my life? Yeah. This is ridiculous. Like
it is a pointless thing to watch.
Well, as Bill Burr once famously said, watching the draft is like watching a graduation where you don't know anyone. Which is about the level of...
Yeah, it is. It's pretty true.
It's got...
And so we now have to wait to see how all these kids turn out, and there's some interest there, but again, it's such a parochial thing because everybody just worries about their own team and how the recruits are going to go.
I have bumped in a few Melbourne supporters since then. I go, I think we've done all right, and like they're asking me, I go, I had no idea.
No idea.
I wouldn't be surprised if we've done terribly.
Being Pole from Perth, who apparently is good below his knees.
That's all thing. Stephen Silvagni's leaving Carlton. And there was a bit of there seemed a bit of bad blood. I thought they all thought he was doing a good job over there at Carlton.
Well, it seemed, a year or so ago, there was, this is, I'm just saying how my observations of it, nothing official, but there seemed to be a bit of a...
We'll be waiting for your official statement. These are just your preliminary thoughts.
There seemed to be, they weren't happy at Carlton because he appeared to bring all his players from GWS that he knew from when he was up there.
Yeah.
And nothing was seen to be going well. Sure, they drafted Cripps and, Kerno and some good players. But the first half of this season just gone before, what's his name, the coach?
Teague. No, Brendan Bolton.
Oh, Brendan Bolton, before he got sacked. I mean, they were just awful.
You can't even remember him.
No, it was Bolton.
You're a heartless man.
It was Bolton.
He's already gone for good in your mind.
But nobody seemed that happy with Silvagni at Carlton. Whereas since then, since they've improved on field, and then he seems to be one of the few list managers in the AFL who is totally across all the rules. Which, and
who's actually read the instructions.
Yeah, read the instruction manual. And that was why he was ducking and weaving and trading spots and doing all this on draft night.
Yeah.
And it seems to be the Carlton, they're on the way back, and they owe him probably a big duty of thanks. But it looks like, I think the word is that he had some falling out with the CEO and also the president. And, what's a bloke got to do?
Yeah.
And the worst thing being, he's not just an employee. I mean, Silvagni is a favoured son. As a son of
his
Carlton.
Whole family. It's like England sacking the royal family, which they might want to do right now, but I'm not aware. I think
who's the Prince Andrew out of the Silvagni family? Will it be Jack or will it be Ben?
I'm loving that slow motion car crash.
Oh, it's magnificent. It is fantastic.
I love how a lot of people are watching The Crown at the same time. They're sort of like they're seeing this current stuff as like a future series.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen people trying to work out how they're going to handle this in The Crown when it gets to that.
If you watch any of The Crown, you realise this is just actually business almost as usual for the royal family.
And from what we can tell, Prince Andrew is just a shocking bloke too, because there's a lot of people taking great delight in his downfall.
Well, my favourite line that someone tweeted out about Prince Andrew is they said, all he had to do in life was nothing, and he stuffed that up.
And he still stuffed it up. Well, I went off him when I read somewhere that he was so arrogant and entitled that he was sitting on the couch one day and he called in one of his servants to turn up the tally on the volume on the telly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. because he couldn't be bothered doing it himself.
I tell you what, it's about time we pivot to a royal watching podcast. I think people would...
There's a couple of old blue bloods like us. Yeah.
I think people would really enjoy our hot takes on the royal family. So, look, obviously Carlton are a mess. Is it too early to write them off?
Well,
God, can you imagine?
What if the worst happens and they do actually come good?
Oh, well then, success has 1,000 fathers. And,
and failure.
What'll be interesting is if Teague is a false dawn.
Yeah. Which could well be the case.
Gee, who knows? Who knows? Moving on to a bit of news that just broke, I think it was late yesterday. Stephen Dank, friend of the podcast, he's been charged with offences in the Northern Territory over supplement injections. And so some people are trying to say this has huge ramifications for the any future legal action taken by the Essendon players.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that works.
Stretch.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how it'll happen. But now, let me get this right, though. He's been banned for life for doing anything.
So he's banned for life from...
Just from football?
From
or
football.
All sport?
I know he's banned from football. I don't know if I think the NRL have banned him too, but I don't think he's necessarily been banned from everything in the world.
Right.
Like this. So he was working...
And Northern Territories, it's a cowboy town at the best
he had
of
a
times.
brief period of employment at Darwin's ageless health clinic in 2017.
He's not exactly a good advertisement for that joint himself.
No, imagine that. Like,
but you look at that. You know how colourful and dodgy racing identities get warned off the racecourse?
Yes.
I mean, Stephen Dank should be warned off chemist shops. He should not ever be allowed in a chemist shop ever again. You imagine Dank walks in and buys 100 syringes. Is that a red flag?
That's right. Well, the Non-Territory News said he was working at the Ageless Health Clinic as a peptide consultant. A spokesman of the clinic said Dank was hired to ensure the clinic can offer and demonstrate the best knowledge in peptide treatment and therapy. Management at the clinic declined to comment on Thursday, saying the matter was now before the courts. He's going to go to the Darwin local court on December 18th.
So just remind me again, what's he been charged with?
Well, it doesn't... I'm just reading this whole article.
Because obviously his job there is to inject people with peptides and the right ones.
It just says charges relating to his controversial peptide injection. So it doesn't actually say in the whole article the specific nature of what it was, unless it was some sort of, he was not allowed to do it. Or the whole thing is a bit strange.
The whole thing,
everything to do with Dank is just...
I was about to say, everything he touches is dodgy.
Well, they better be careful, because what about when he releases all the evidence that exonerates everyone?
We'll see Donald Trump's tax returns before we see that.
It's amazing. I love when people are just so bold-faced in what they're saying.
Yeah. And I want to know...
I wouldn't think to say that unless I definitely knew I actually had evidence that exonerated everyone.
And how would his job interview have gone at the ageless healthcare
I know.
place, What have you been doing, Mr. Danks?
Did they not think to Google up there? He was like, I just was working for Essendon and then I thought this is a move up.
Yeah, did Cronulla,
We should also mention, on All News Essendon, perhaps even bigger than the Essendon drug scandal, Essendon have announced they're getting out of esports.
Yeah, and they'd only just got into esports fairly recently. So, they bought an esports team, I think.
So these are computer games.
Games.
Few people might not know what esports are.
Yeah, and
it's competitive computer games.
It's a huge sort of spectator event. And
it's massive,
getting bigger around the world. I mean,
whether you think it's a sport or not, it's a massive...
Yeah, you can argue whether it's a sport, but it just has a massive following because whenever they have one of these tournaments, they can have them in a big venue, say like Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne, on giant screens, and they fill it out. But there's also countless, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of kids watching these tournaments online themselves, just sitting at home. Well, so it's big business.
I remember a while ago we were saying that we were reading this article we talked about where the A-League released a league called the E-League, which was each electronic, it was on FIFA, PlayStation, I think it was, and it brought in bigger ratings than the actual A-League.
Exactly. and it's like with basketball, the NBA 2K.
Yeah.
That is just massive, absolutely massive.
I know. It's
my
huge.
15-year-old bloke's all over it, and he's been in a tournament for the last 2 months, playing against guys from around the world.
Missed a lot of school.
Yeah, missed a lot of school. His English report wasn't that good this year, but his hand-to-eye was fine. But even then, he was playing against guys, and if he won certain number of matches, he was off to Sydney to play for $15,000, and if he'd won that, off to LA, first prize $100,000.
Well, that's like the kid.
Isn't bad.
There was
for
a kid in Melbourne who won $2 million when he won the fortnight. Basically won the fortnight entire thing.
So Essendon have, they've obviously, when they bought this esports sort of franchise,
they all thought it was going to be a money spinner.
This is going to be a big
relevant.
And away we in, and we're hip and we're up with the kids. Yes. They've obviously decided their money can be better spent elsewhere.
Well, the Adelaide Crows are still involved in esports. We don't know whether the Adelaide Crows have any plans to get back into football. But yet to hear.
And being in Adelaide, their esports is Nintendo 64.
It has been a while since you've got in an Adelaide joke. And hello, the people of Adelaide, as I was over there again. Now, the other one that's been quite interesting coming out of the AFL is they're talking of shortening half time.
Yeah, now this just came about just since we did the podcast last week. And now, generally, whenever the AFL throws something up, more often than not, it's just a diversion, or it's never going to happen, or it's just to keep some publicity rolling. We used to think that
before the McLaughlin, sort of era, where suddenly these distractions seem to have accidentally been put into place.
But with this one, the halving of the half time from 20 minutes to 10, there seems to be a fair groundswell of support for it from amongst the players and coaches.
I don't. Yeah, see, my problem with it here...
I'm not sure about it.
...is... The problem you have with it is the AFL, and I know they don't own and run every stadium down to a T, but they are a major client, so they have a lot of sway over it. The idea of being able to get a beer, go to the toilet, and have food...
Get a pie.
In 10 minutes is fanciful at best.
Of course it is.
And secondly... and there was a lot of feedback of this on Twitter and women I spoke to. The idea women can get to the bathroom and back purely because the lines and the facilities are just not comparative.
Not
it's
enough,
just it just shows a lack of thinking about how it works. Like a lot of the players might be happy with it, but I'm all for trying to shorten things a bit. But I mean, it's like they keep talking about shortening the quarters. Which part of me understands why you'd want to do that. But the other part of me is like, I kind of like the fact that footy is a marathon. Like it is
like a marathon. And also I like the fact that you never quite know how much longer there is still in a quarter.
Yeah.
Unless you're sitting in the timekeeper's booth. There's still some doubt as to how much time on there's going to be and what have you. And the half-time shortening of it, as you say, huge feedback online and Twitter about that. Not enough time to do so, and also it means what happens to the kids playing Auskick at halftime. Yeah, the AFL said, "Oh, we'll just do it before the game," but it's not the same. There's something about kids running onto the field at halftime and having a game of footy.
Yeah, Can you imagine the broadcasters would be that thrilled? They get a lot of ads in.
Yeah,
in that it's 10 minutes less of ads.
Yeah, well, that was my first thought. Is that surely the broadcasters won't like this idea for that exact reason.
Yeah.
But and the only other thing is half-time at the footy. I'm all for shortening it if they just shut the bloke up with the microphone for the whole of half-time and don't do all the stupid things that they do. Just turn the music off, turn all the blaring and the yelling and screaming off, and I'll happily sit there in dead silence for 10 minutes.
You're not happy with the kiss cam?
Not with the kiss cam. Or what they were doing at a lot of the Melbourne games last year where Robbo kicks the ball up in the air and you try and take a specky over the back of a big dummy.
Yeah.
Or you sprint along the boundary line trying to beat Kathy Freeman or something,
Yeah. Why do you hate fun?
Because I'm a Melbourne supporter.
You're too busy complaining about what a terrible year it is. It is all over the shop. Like, I don't know.
Do you reckon they'll do it?
Because
it's not a difficult thing to.
I think their problem is they
bring
kind
in.
of suggested it, and then I think people did bring up some legitimate problems.
Yeah.
If you've got kids with you, or just to get to the bathroom, the fact a lot of people will miss parts of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you've paid a ticket and
it's hard enough, even, if in a busy game at the MCG, if you want to get a pie at half time, you leave at the 22-minute mark.
Yeah, already people are missing stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just think it just doesn't work in any way, shape or form. Some sports can do it. You go to the, and I haven't been to every arena, but you go to like Melbourne Arena for the basketball.
Yeah.
You can get your food in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The lines are just not,
Yeah.
it's not the same sort of audience.
No.
So it just works 1,000 times better. Than it does with everything else. So I can understand there. But unless the AFL are going to say, all right, we've talked to our stadium partners and we're going to have extra people on to serve beer and alcohol, which they won't do.
Yeah.
Then it's just not going to work.
Or open up, more food outlets and stuff like that. And they're not going to do that.
But they don't. So I just can't see it working.
No. And over the course of, as you say, a game of footy is a marathon. Over the course of an entire afternoon or night or game of footy, that 10 minutes, really, is it going to make that much difference to the overall length of the experience?
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's just going to be annoying.
Well, it'd be better to trim 2 minutes off every quarter.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I know doesn't add up to 10 minutes just quietly.
Well, 2.5. You take them back to, 22.5 minutes instead of 25.
Yeah, I can see more point to that.
Yeah. Because nobody would really notice.
I don't really want less footy, though.
Yeah. But then sometimes, if there's been a lot of time on or there's been, too many video reviews or somebody gets injured and carried off, a quarter can go for 34, 35 minutes.
Well, this is more what annoys me is and we talked about this last week, is the slowing down of the game through reviews and various things like that actually annoys me more. Like, I'd prefer just to roll the dice that some of them are going to be wrong, go back to the way it was. It hasn't improved the game for me.
Exactly. That's why I like the immediate kick in and being able to play on from a point, because that does keep things rolling.
Yeah, that's the only one of the new rules I really have any time for.
Yeah.
We should also mention that Israel Folau he's in Melbourne at the moment with his mediation being held.
Yeah.
And he's up from 10 million to 14 million, the compo claim he wants. It didn't seem to explain why he sort of has said that he thought in his mind that there was a chance he was going to become Wallabies captain, and that's why he's decided to up it.
And would that have guaranteed him more money?
Well, it
Does
would.
the captain get paid?
I think they do, but the thing there a bit is, you look at it and go, well, you didn't get the feeling he was ever. I mean, I'm not pretending I'm in the middle of all the Wallabies things, but he was never touted in any way as a future captain by anyone I'd heard speak.
And 10 million to 14. It's surely some kind of ambit claim, you'd think. And he's he just keeps doubling down on everything.
Yeah.
And as you say, he's in Melbourne for the mediation. They had a 12-hour mediation meeting with no resolution. Now, it doesn't seem to me there's going to be much resolution at any point.
No,
I think if you can sit there 12 hours and both sides not giving an inch,
no one blinks.
That ain't mediation.
I don't know if you can really negotiate with Israel.
Well,
he's pretty black and white in his beliefs.
That's what I was about to say. A negotiation.
He doesn't strike me as someone who's
by its very nature is a give and take.
Yeah.
And if he ain't going to give anything, but he wants to take 14 million, good luck with it.
I know. You kind of feel like if he was a bit open to something, they would. He seems he's on his high horse.
Yeah.
The Rugby Australia seem to be a bit more. They think they've got a very strong legal case, so they're even less likely to break because they don't think they have to.
So if the mediation falls over, which it's early days, but it looks like it may well, they do actually go to the Supreme Court next year.
Yeah, it's going to be a wonderful mess.
Oh, it'll be a fantastic mess, and let's hope is the Supreme Court. If that's in Melbourne, I want to go to that. I think we should do a podcast
Send you as the court
from inside.
reporter.
I'll be the court reporter. I'll be the Martin King.
Well, you're
or
certainly
the Alan Rascal.
You're certainly well known around the courts.
Never been the Supreme though.
No,
I always managed to get out before it gets that high.
You're more a magistrate's court sort of guy.
Yes.
The Dandenong magistrate's court kind of guy.
Yeah.
It's the quality of court you're in. But I just find the whole Israel Folau thing kind of bizarre that he would think that he wasn't going to get sacked for all that he did.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
He had plenty of chances.
He's as dumb as a box of rocks. He really is, So, but it's it's a good spectator sport for the likes of you and I. There's no doubt.
No, it's very enjoyable. I mean, it's going to go on longer than the rugby in this country probably will go on the way it's going at the moment. We should mention one of the things that struck us as amusing this week was that Roger Federer.
Yes.
You found this.
The great man.
What's happening with Roger?
Well, the country of Switzerland, which of course he is Swiss, they're going to put Roger on the coins. Now, we've got the Queen on one.
Yeah.
So, in a bunch of coins in Switzerland, they're going to have Roger on there in the middle. I've seen the artwork, sort of in the middle of his famous takeaway backhand.
Right.
Roger's going to be on a coin, which it's hard to think there's much more of a greater honour than that, would you think?
Well,
who would you put on an Australian coin?
Oh, there's so many that you could.
I think they're going to put Nick Kyrgios on some counterfeit banknotes.
Yes, something that one of those like a 5-cent piece.
Yeah,
it is weird though that it's all the Queen here, but imagine you started putting like sporting heroes on all of them. You'd have some, Anthony Mundine.
Or playing poker with a Warney $20 note.
I can see Warney being on.
Warney. Or they're talking about naming a new grandstand at the MCG.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
After Warney, which, as much as...
But what grandstand's this going to be?
Well, I think they're talking about rebuilding the southern stand. They reckon that's starting to look a bit tired.
Yeah, well, it is looking tired.
Yeah.
And I know the Victorian government had committed some money towards it.
If they do rebuild the southern stand, that would be the obvious one.
Well, he gets that whole stand.
Yeah, the Shane Warne stand.
I do like it, Adelaide.
It actually sounds all right, the Shane Warne stand.
Yeah.
And,
well, as a name.
Yeah, but, you've got to say, Warney's often the target of this and that, and he brings it on himself most of the time. But he was a pretty fair cricketer. There's
no doubt.
The MCG was his home track. It makes perfect sense to name the grandstand after him.
Well, I like at Adelaide Oval, there's one stand, but they've divided it into 4.
Oh, yeah.
So it's Rashudo, Foss Williams, Gavin Wanganeen, and I can't remember the other one, that have all sort of, so they've sort of gone on. So you could almost do every bay. Everyone gets a stand. It can go pretty downhill pretty quickly. Yeah. But the southern stand really needs an upgrade.
Yeah, it does. It's funny that because I remember the old one. I remember the old members stand at the G. I mean, it was pretty old and dated compared to what's there now.
Yeah.
But there's still people who sort of lament the passing of that. Because it was a very famous
Well, the problem
building.
they had with doing that, remember there was talk of trying to keep the old long room and various things.
Exactly as it was.
But it had all sorts of piping problems, like with sewerage and everything. It wasn't like it wasn't a.
And there was a fair bit of asbestos going through the joint too, I think.
Yeah, so, there was a lot of reasons why you didn't want to keep it, But you look at Adelaide Oval and Perth Stadium now and they've eclipsed the MCG.
Yeah.
So it needs it.
Yeah, it certainly does. And it'll be interesting to see what the AFL do with Marvel Stadium, where they're going to keep that, revamp it, tear it down, do whatever.
Well, I mean, they promised us yoga classes there.
They've never turned up, have they?
They've never turned up. We should go pull out that media release of all the things they promised that just never occurred.
Look that up for next week. And that's the other thing. There's some talk too that Gillum McLachlan has got underway a surreptitious succession plan for his job. And some talk that Xavier Campbell, he's the CEO of Essendon at the moment.
I think there's always talk of Gillen about to leave.
Yeah.
But I think, there has been one criticism of him is that he hasn't really put in place a clear successor if he did actually decide to leave. And the thing about Xavier Campbell that, he had, and I know Xavier a little bit, one thing he was a little bit indicated in he had received some of those injections, much like Goodwin was and stuff like that. But beyond that, you'd have to say his role as CEO at Essendon, I think it's been an amazing success because he came in right at the worst time and held that club, like in terms of sponsors and all these things. He managed to keep them all around. Like the degree of difficulty of what he went through. He had the Mick Gatto coming out and claiming and all this. Like he was dealing with issues that would have been he was dealing with issues that would have for other clubs been the big issue of the year. He was doing like 5 of them a week for a while.
There's no doubt he's a good operator.
And he's a clean skin, and seems he wasn't senior enough or in the area that he was tainted by the Dank stuff or anything like that in a appointment or governance sense. So there's a possible. I mean, the other obvious ones that you hear floated around are Brendan Gale.
Yeah, Benny Gale
is an obvious one.
And he's done wonders at Richmond.
Yeah, I mean, you can't
again from the CEO sort of has little or no input into the performance on the field.
Yeah,
but off field, I mean, Richmond, when you win premierships, success breeds success. But their performance off field has been he's turned them into a powerhouse these last few years.
I'd like to see you run. With a broad, you could just list all the things that you won't do
that I haven't done and I have no intention of doing in the future. What about Prince Andrew? He's been part of the world's biggest succession plan. He stuffed that up.
What? Imagine if people could run for AFL CEO. Like it was elected just by the general public.
Yeah, you'd put your hand up for that. You'd get in.
No, I wouldn't get in. God, no. Although I reckon you could put together a pretty good platform just by saying things like, I won't do AFLX, I won't do this, I won't do that.
No more junkets.
No more Well, hang on.
Well, you got to keep the junkets. Or there's no point being in
that
you
position. Admit the junkets up front. I'll only take one junket a year.
Yeah.
I'll be going to the Maldives because I think it's a huge market for AFL. If we're going to invent a form of AFL that can be played on water.
Yeah, I was about to say play underwater. It's a cross between, we're going to call it AFL water polo.
Yeah, it's a cross between water polo.
And water polo and water rugby played with a waterproof footy. One of those plastic footies. You remember those old brown plastic footies?
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, they're fantastic. But you never kick them with a bare feet.
Yeah, they hurt.
Yeah, they hurt.
No, I think the Maldives is the one to. It's a new screaming
market.
Out for a fact-finding mission.
Exactly.
Imagine you went over, did a fact-finding mission to come and go, there's no ovals.
Here's the facts. The one fact I found.
Yeah, it's probably not going to work.
No, exactly.
Well, on that note,
yes,
we should mention that we are going to be back next week.
We will be back next week. We're looking forward to our big Christmas edition. Will that be a Christmas edition?
The naughty and nice list. We should actually go. We'll do a highlights of the year list.
Yeah, we'll do
not our highlights, but highlights of the sporting world.
Yeah, we'll run through some of the stories of the year because there has been some interesting ones. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but we'll look them up for next week.
All right. Well, we'll see you then.